Well, my name is Jarod 28 years old, and this is my testimony of how I came to know Jesus Christ. Just a little background about myself. I grew up in a Christian home all my life. My mother and father were both devout Christians. My dad studied the Bible every single night and read the Bible with us children as kids, and was always telling us about God and Jesus and witnessing to us what that meant. And pretty much from day one I was never really interested in it. It was always something that I went along with and agreed with, and always in the back of my head just kind of chalked it up as, my parents are crazy, this is foolish, how could you believe in a God and let a whole religion control your life when obviously you can't see a God, he's not there. And so that's pretty much my mindset of how I looked at that, and my life was built more on what I could give myself, and I strive to provide myself with happiness as far as how I thought I could get it, whether it be with friends or buying things or girls or popularity or whatever it was. There was always something that I was interested in doing to make myself feel happy, and that would last for a little while, and then it would fade away, and I'd go get something else, or I'd go do something else. And I guess the whole process started about 3 years ago. I was working for an electrical company, running a commercial job, and there was a guy, that new employee that came to work on my project, and he was different. He was quite obviously not the same as me. He didn't joke about the same things. He didn't talk the same way. He didn't find the same things funny. He made himself different, and he wasn't afraid to be different. And it kind of irritated me at the first, and kind of pissed me off, I guess, because he thought he was better than me, is the way I looked at it. But yet there was still something about this man that intrigued me. And I talked with him a little bit here and there, and it became obvious he was a Christian, and he told me his testimony, and all the time I'm sitting here thinking, okay, you're just another one of those type of people that just fall into this belief system and you let that control your life, and just thinking how foolish that is. But yet I still felt myself wanting to talk to him about it, and kind of wanting to play along and see really who he was and what he was about. And I remember one day leaving work and just thinking to myself, all the things that I've done in my life to try and provide happiness, and to try and make myself feel like I'm successful and that I'm really somebody. Here's a guy that's a prime example who has none of those things. He has a beat-up car, he has no girlfriend, he has no house, he lives in the basement of his sister's house, moving from town to town to town every 6 months or whatever, just doesn't really have anything going for him, but yet he had something that I didn't have. He had peace and a joy that I was trying to get through material things, and trying to get through things of this world that was leaving me, wanting more. And I remember going home at night, one night out of the blue, and laying down to go to sleep, and for the first time in my life I said a prayer to God. And it wasn't a prayer of just muttering words to some mystical being that I didn't know if was there, or where maybe he was, and hopefully he would listen to me. I was saying words from my heart to a God, the creator of the universe, that I believed in that moment was there, and he was listening to me. And the very next morning, I woke up, and things were different. I couldn't tell what was different, and it wasn't a feeling. It wasn't a feeling of gladness. It wasn't a feeling of, I feel like a good person. It was the very being of who I was. The decisions that I made and how I thought were different. Jokes, just like Dan, jokes that I thought would be normally funny or not funny, and I didn't want to have anything to do with them. Music that I would normally listen to, I didn't want to listen to. And I found myself just from sun up to sundown every single day just pondering God this, God that, and trying to find him in every way. And listening to Christian radio, listening to Christian ministers on the radio, and reading my Bible for the first time in my life, coming home at night and reading my Bible. And if anybody that knows me, that's completely out of my character, because I don't enjoy reading at all, and even if I did, the Bible would have been the very last book I would have ever thought about reading. But I did every single night, open it up, and I would read for hours. And every word on that page, that whatever it was, wherever I was reading, was truth to me. I didn't question it. It was reality, and I knew it had to be truth. And for about a week and a half, I went through the process of feeling the conviction of my sin, and feeling and seeing how I was being in God's eyes and how God didn't approve of that. And I tried to, I tried to live better and to not sin. And I mean, I got really over the top with it. I mean, just every little thing, even if I thought about something, I was sinning, and, I was asking for forgiveness. And it got to the point to where, one night I had enough, and I just broke down because I felt like such a failure. I couldn't be good enough. And I got in my truck one night and drove by myself, and there's a song that come on the radio after I was yelling and screaming at God and crying and everything at God. And there's a song that come on the radio about cry out to Jesus, talking about people that have, people that have problems, and people that are at their low, and people that need Him, and all these things. Basically everybody in the world, when you get to that point to where you don't have nothing. And that's where I was. I had nothing. Everything that in that week and a half that I'd built my spirituality around of trying not to sin was done. And I cried out to Him in that night. And I mean, I know He didn't appear to me physically, but it's the closest thing that could have been without Him being there physically. I felt His presence, I felt His love, and I felt this mental picture of Him standing in front of me with His arms wide open saying, "Come to me." And I felt Him, felt His love, I felt His forgiveness. And in that moment, it finally dawned on me, this whole thing about Jesus that I've been trying to figure out, who He was and what it meant. And I remember saying to myself, I can't believe it's that easy. And it is that easy. He's done it all. And I realized at that moment that I can't be good enough. I can't even be close to good enough. And He was perfect, and He was good enough, and He gave that all to me. And I accepted it that night. And later that night, I called my dad. It was probably 10:30 at night, and I called my dad up, and I just said on the phone, thank you, for being the father that He was, for being the Christian that He was. And I wasn't saying thank you because all those things led me to being a Christian necessarily, but just for the fact that I realized what He was talking about, and all the things that He was telling me I experienced in true, real life. And He met me in the Price Chopper parking lot later on that evening, and we talked about it, and He asked me if I'd experienced His love, and I said yes. And in that parking lot, I confessed everything to my dad for the first time. Nothing was being hidden. I wasn't holding nothing back. Everything that I'd done in my life, everything I've done, period, I was unashamed, and I told Him everything. In my life, I felt forgiven, and I felt it was over and it was done with. And since that moment, to this day, God has led me through some trials. He's led me into a lot of great opportunities. And there's been times when I fell away and kind of went about my own business, and He's always been faithful, and He's met me right there and said, "What are you doing? Come back to me." And I guess here I am telling you today. It's very, it's very weird to me to be here today, because before I was a Christian, I was the one making fun of the people that are sitting right here in this chair, of giving their testimony, of saying how fake and phony and everything is. And this is my true life testimony, and standing before a bunch of people, giving my testimony that some of them I know and some of them I don't know, for the glory of God, not for the glory of myself. And that's completely opposite of who I was as a person. I was all about myself and what I can do for myself, and now it's what He's done for me, and nothing of myself. It's what He's doing in me and His life in me, and only Christ can do that. And I believe Christ is standing, knocking on a door of everybody's heart, wanting to come in, and He's ready for those who will cry out to Him, just like I did that night. And He will come in, He will give you forgiveness, and He will save you like He saved me. And He is a true man who truly lived. He truly died in real life, and He truly lives in real life right now. And He's there to be your Savior.